all plays, poems, and writings, it's been determined that "to be or not to be" is the most quoted line in English literature. A few years ago, there was a Hindu version of Hamlet, and the English translation, the subtitle read, "Shall I live or do myself in?" I don't know. Not as poetic as William was. Prince Charles made a point of how the English language has lost a lot of the poetry since Shakespeare was translating that wonderful, wonderful verbiage into a language that they understood. But today we have a little difficulty understanding every single thing that Shakespeare was saying. The language is like a foreign language today. But it's beautiful, and we get the intention behind it. But Prince Charles made a point of translating that monologue into the vernacular, just to prove what is lost when we don't have the language that we had then. So in part, what he wrote was, well, frankly, the problem as I see it in this time, at this moment in time, is whether I should lie down under all the hassle and let them walk over me, or whether I should say, okay, I get the message and do myself in. The only problem is what happens if I find out that when I butt myself off, you might find, you know what I mean? That's essentially what you said. So what is Hamlet? Who has not seen Hamlet? Put your hand up if you've never seen Hamlet. Put your hand up if you don't understand what Hamlet's about. Oh, okay. In 7 words or less. Anyone take a crack? Hamlet in 7 words or less. No, it's pretty difficult to do that. The writer Voltaire boiled it down this way. He wrote, in Hamlet, the ghost of a king appears on stage. Hamlet becomes crazy in the 2nd act, and his girlfriend goes crazy in the 3rd act. Hamlet kills the father of his girlfriend on the pretense of killing a rat. And then the girlfriend throws herself into the river. In the meanwhile, another one of the actors conquers Poland. This actually is what Hamlet's about. Hamlet, his mother, and his stepfather all carouse on stage, songs are sung at the table, there's quarreling, fighting, and finally almost everybody is killed. The end. Hamlet's a long play. It's really, if you do the whole thing, it's about 4.5 hours. 5, if you really put everything in there. It's a difficult play, it's flawed, it's soap opera-ish at times, and the role of Hamlet is almost impossible to play, which is why everybody wants to do it. It's like Mount Everest. Every actor wants to try it. And it's also one of the greatest spiritual lessons I've ever seen on stage. The character of Hamlet is an incredibly gifted and sensitive young Danish prince with enormous intelligence and wit. But he has one giant flaw that keeps getting in the way. He can't make his mind up. He can't make a decision. He can't take action on anything. At the beginning of the play, Hamlet meets up with the ghost of his dead father, the king. He tells Hamlet that he was murdered by his brother, Hamlet's uncle, now married to Hamlet's mother. Real Housewives of Denmark. Hamlet is livid at this information and he vows revenge. And then he doesn't do anything. He ruminates for 4 hours. He talks and talks and talks for 4 hours about life, about death, about philosophy. Instead of taking definitive action, Hamlet talks about himself to himself, a subject that he finds endlessly fascinating. Then Hamlet gets mean with his girlfriend. He writes a play about his uncle. Hamlet thinks a lot, but he doesn't do anything, which is one of the problems for the actor playing Hamlet. How do you play doing nothing for 4.5 hours? How do you play indecision as an actor? That's really a hard emotion because there's really nothing to play there. The actor playing Hamlet has to make another choice. Eventually, the ghost of his father comes back and says to Hamlet, "Hamlet, shut up and get on with it. Do it." Finally, at the end of the play, Hamlet essentially wipes out all of Denmark and then he kills himself. Still talking a blue streak as the curtain's coming down. He doesn't even die decisively. Wow. Every generation has its own interpretation of the play, and it's fascinating to go back through the years and say, what does this generation or this country think about Hamlet? The Victorians thought he brooded too much, and that all he needed was a good tonic and a good brisk walk in the woods and everything would be okay. They also wrote letters to the newspaper complaining that Hamlet says nobody has ever returned from death, but then he's yakking it up in the beginning of Act 1 with his father, who's a ghost. Did you think about that? He said, nobody has ever returned from that undiscovered country. Well, yeah, your dad did. And he just chatted with you for half an hour. The Freudians thought his inability to take action stemmed from his neurotic obsession with his mother's sexuality. Of course they did. Freudians. When the great actor John Barrymore was asked by a reporter if Hamlet had a relationship with his mother, Barrymore thought about it for a moment and said, only in the Chicago Company. In the 20th century, Hamlet was thought to be an existentialist who looked into the abyss called life and saw nothing but the absurdity of existence. That there was nothing there. And concluded that all action, including revenge, was meaningless. Which is why Hamlet was so stuck where he was. As I said, I believe there's a great spiritual lesson that we can learn by looking at how Hamlet has chosen to live his life. So let's take a look at this from a Unity New Thought perspective. Hamlet's biggest challenge, and of course every character in any play, is us. So our biggest challenge is affirming and accepting the positive, joyful, overflowing, unlimited good that we are looking to have in life. Hamlet not only tests the patience of everybody around him, but also the audience. After listening to him moan and complain and ruminate and elucidate and hesitate for 5 hours. Do you know a Hamlet in your life? Do you have anybody like that when you call and go, oh my God, I just have to have 5 hours so the person can talk, I'll put the phone down and I can do other things. I have 2 friends like that. I love them dearly, but I have to know that I have a lot of time to be able to call. Are you a Hamlet? I think a little Hamlet, everybody. See, Hamlet thinks a lot, he talks a lot, he gets himself tied up in metaphysical and spiritual knots. But again, he never does anything. He never does anything about it. Like our friends that we talk to, they have the same song, the same story, but they never really seem to do anything about it. Hamlet has analyzed the life out of his life, is what he's done. In our unity philosophy, not only do we have to affirm that our good is here right now, but we have to take definite steps to co-create the good that God is within us. It's not enough to know the truth, as our 5th basic teaching says. We have to apply it. We have to joyfully move forward as if life is a celebration and put what we know inside to action. Nolan Bushnell, the founder of Atari, wrote, the critical ingredient is getting off your butt and doing something. It's as simple as that. A lot of people have ideas, but there are few who decide to do something about them now. Not tomorrow, not next week, but today. The true entrepreneur is a doer, not a dreamer. I mean, dreams certainly have to do it. We have to have the dream. We have to picture it. We have to image it. We have to hold it in our heart and know this is our goal. This is the dream. But then we have to move on it. It's not going to just happen. We have to be a part of it. We have to put our dreams into action to have them manifest. Again, as I mentioned earlier, Scripture says faith without works is dead. It's just a good idea. until we move forward to do the work. Hamlet's problem is he didn't move on any idea. He had a whole bunch of them, but he never did anything about them. All he did for 5 bloody hours is tell us his problems. Even the best therapist only meets for 50 minutes. After that, it's like, you just space out. Wayne Dyer was an unknown professor when he wrote his first book, Your Erroneous Souls. So to make sure the book was a success, he decided to take action. He bought several hundred copies of the book, he got in the car, and he traveled around the country delivering his message. 6 months later, he had gone 28,000 miles, had covered 47 states, delivering in person around 16,000 books to bookstores and other places, community churches, everywhere. Before he got into town, he would contact the newspapers and magazine writers, and he did over 800 interviews before coming to that town. Your Erroneous Stones became the #1 book in the country, and Wayne Dyer became one of the best-known authors and lecturers in the self-help field. He really helped himself here, didn't he? He put it into action. He himself brought his success into manifestation, listening to what spirit within him was revealing for him to do. Will Rogers put it this way: even if you're on the right track, you'll get run over if you just sit there. Move. Keep the energy going. There was a study conducted at Harvard, a class of Harvard graduates, about 50 years or so ago now. At the time of graduation, 80% had no specific goals. 15% of the graduates had only ideas they were thinking about. And 5% of them had written them down, had written their specific goals on paper or in a book. Checking in with the class 30 years after they graduated, they discovered that the 5% group that had the goals written out had not only surpassed their goals they wrote down, but as a group had more net worth than the other 95%. Because they were very clear about what they were looking to have done in their lives. Hamlet was kind of between the first and second group. Do I live or do I kill myself? Should I kill my uncle or do another long one? Do I want Ophelia or do I want a mother? Oh, so many choices. The Hamlet syndrome is one that we have to be aware of in our lives. The Hamlet syndrome is indecision and being stuck in our heads. And it's usually caused by fear. Now, we aren't really sure why Hamlet is the way he is. Shakespeare left no clues as to why he wrote Hamlet this way. But today, with more understanding of the psyche and how the mind works, we have some clues. It could be a dark night of the soul he was going through. We all have them at times in our lives when we have periods of just depression and darkness that we don't know how to get out of, but we just keep moving and eventually we find our way back into the light. Or it could have been clinical depression. Hamlet has a lot of signs of being clinically depressed, which is a chemical condition. Or it could be, and this is the one that I really resonate with, and it came to me when I was meditating about who Hamlet was. I think Hamlet was going through an intense period of grief, and that grief made him temporarily insane, which happens. Grieving is a healing process, but it's something that we have to meet and work with if our lives are going to work. He was grieving, and then all of a sudden his father, the ghost of his father, gave him information that completely sent him over the edge. It was that he was killed, and it was his uncle's fault. In spiritual terms, the real tragedy of Hamlet was that he didn't go to his heart to get the answer to what he needed. He kept going to his considerable intellect for the answer that was never really there in his head to begin with. And we do the same thing over and over again. Even if you've been in community or doing the spiritual path for a long time, we go to the head first. We try to figure it out with our minds. And we're always missing the key information that the heart, that the intuitive understanding knows. Those who are incredibly gifted intellectually often have a more difficult time in letting the heart reveal what to do. Our head never has all the information. I find it's really fascinating now that the news commentators are trying to figure out Marianne Williamson. Who is this crazy woman? Who is this nutty New Age crystal wearing? And then they talked to her, completely different. They couldn't peg her. And they said her ideas are really hitting home with a lot of people here. Matter of fact, she was on Bill Maher on Friday. Anybody see her on Bill Maher on Friday night? He said to her, tell me about this Course in Miracles thing. And so they had about a 5-minute talk about the Course in Miracles and what it was about. And she said, yeah, it's for people who are religious or not religious like you, Bill. He was really fascinated by the concept of the book being a spiritual but not religious thing. So little by little, this message is getting into the consciousness of our country. Our peace of mind, our joy of daily living, our unfolding spiritual growth can only take place when we surrender the intellect to the heart. Not that we throw it away, but the heart has to come first. The heart has to lead in what we're doing. A few years back, a man was driving through the Black Hills near Mount Rushmore. He ran into a snowstorm and he lost all sense of direction. He peered out the window and he saw a snowplow. With relief, he followed the plow, even though at times the snow made it a little difficult to really see where he was going, but he kept following the red lights behind. After a while, maybe about 15 minutes after following the snowplow, the operator stopped the plow. He got out and he went to the window. He tapped it and they rolled the window down. And the operator said to the man, where are you headed? And the driver said, I'm on my way to Montana. And the operator said, well, you're not going to get there following me around the parking lot. He was following the parking lot. He was just going around in circles. I said, well, I guess he knows where he's going. I'll follow him. How many people have done that? I'm going to follow you because I don't know where. And then we go, you don't know where you're going either. Or you know where you're going, but I'm not going there. We have to follow our gut. We have to follow the inner leading, not somebody else. Proverbs 3:5 gives us this direction so clearly. I love this. Trust the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Do we hear that? Lean not on your own understanding, but in all ways acknowledge God, and God shall direct your path. This is so clear. Don't lean on your head, lean on your heart. Because the head only has that much information, the heart knows all. And that's what we need to do. Let God reveal what I need to do for my prosperity to come forth. Don't try to figure it out with your head. You never will. What is God telling you about your healing? About your right mate, the right home, the right work, the right decisions for every part of your life. Put God first, and the light of God will guide us to what we need to do. A writer once observed, the great composer does not set to work because he's inspired. He becomes inspired because he's working. Beethoven, Bach, Mozart settled down day after day to the job at hand with as much regularity as an accountant settles down to his figures. They didn't waste time waiting for inspiration. The very act of doing it is inspiring. Anybody write here? Right. On Sunday morning, I finish my talk and go, oh, that was great, now I have another one to do. And now I have another one to do, and another one. So, the writing process is real exciting. I sit down, I look at my computer, and I get up and I feed Wendy, my dog. Then I sit down back to my computer and say, I'm out of coffee. I go get a coffee. Then I sit down at my computer, I'm ready to go, then I decide to visit the bathroom for a minute or two, and then I sit down and I'm ready to go, and something is on television. Like, oh, I gotta watch this because it might be helpful. Every single writer I know is like that. Until you go, sit down and start doing it. Stephen Sondheim in Sunday in the Park with George wrote, a blank page or canvas. Such possibilities. These possibilities are scary as hell because you have everything available, and now what? And now I need to get out of my head and go to my heart and say, Spirit, you do the work. You reveal what I need to do. And then it flows. Wayne Gretzky, the famous hockey player, was told by his coach one day, "In tonight's game, you will miss 100% of the shots you didn't take." That's really deep. You will miss everything that you did not go for. To heal from this Hamlet syndrome, we have to move forward. Take the shot. You might get it. Or take it again. You might get it the second time, or third time, or fourth time. We have to move through our fears, our doubts, through the intellectual tourniquet that we squeeze the life out of, through our grieving process. Yeah, grieving is the healing process. Keep grieving, but move forward at the same time. And then step out on faith, knowing that God is here right now. There was a woman, her name was Sarah Long, she did that. She found herself on welfare, and she really disliked the idea that she was on welfare, so she made a decision in her life, and she, unlike Hamlet, didn't mutter or complain or moan about it. She made a decision, and then she took action. She enrolled in a small business course offered through the state program. She meditated on what she loved, on what she was passionate about, what she wanted to get up and do every single day. And it came to her in a flash of a divine idea, this is what she was going to do. She is now a very successful owner of a business called Nannies of Iowa, a nanny placement service. This was her joy, this was her love. She got so excited about it, and because she was excited about it, she's now a success. As the wonderful book by Marcia Sinecar says, do what you love, the money will follow. Do what you love and watch the abundance work forth. So this week I invite you to do something. Take a step forward, as the fifth of our basic teaching says. I need to take an action to move the energy. So what is it you need to do? So this week I would invite you to do something very small like clean. What do you need to clean in your home? We all have an area, right? That one little area, I'll get to it later. I invite you to get to it today. Today or tomorrow morning at the latest. Make a commitment, or when you get home. Yes. When you get home, that's right. What area are you, even if it's a small, if you clean your sink, it's an action you're taking. You're telling the universe, I am cleaning up. I am moving forward and getting my home, my life ready for further good. What is it you want to do? Take that one step. What action have you been afraid to do? That is the action you need to do after doing the cleaning. It won't hurt. You will not die from taking a step forward toward your good. So I invite you to close your eyes now. Go to your heart. What does your heart tell you? What's my next step? What is the action step I need to take? Maybe it's just to redo your resume. Maybe it's to find a business card. Maybe it's just to say yes and call that person you've been meaning to meet. What's the one thing, one step toward your good that you can take? Just breathe into it. And know that nothing is impossible with God. Nothing is impossible with the energy that recreates me over and over and over again. As we go into our time of silence, I invite you to sing or simply listen to the wonderful song. In the silence, there is a sacred place, a secret meeting place. Beloved. Your trying to figure it out. It never works. I can never figure out what to do next because I don't have the information. But the truth is, God is already here doing the work. God already is the good I'm looking for. God is all. Whatever word we use for God is fine. Love, light, wisdom, peace, allness. It doesn't matter. Whatever word we're comfortable with. God is principle. Very life itself, moving in and through us at every moment, renewing, restoring, revitalizing our minds, our bodies, and our lives. If there's been a challenge in your life, I invite you to let it go. Stop ruminating on it. Stop rehashing it over and over in your mind. I of myself do nothing. It is God within that does the work. As I let go and bring the joy and gratitude from my heart into every part of my being, I am aware of my next step. I know what to do and how to do it. Every part of the guidance is revealed as I need it, when I need it. But I have to relax into that truth. Let go of the stress. Let go of the fear, the indecision, and the doubt. Today I quietly affirm in my soul, God is my help. I know what to do to be healed. God is my help. It is revealed what I need to do next to let that pour forth. But I of myself do not heal myself. The healing energy within me is totally, fully, powerfully at work right now. Breathe that truth. Breathe that healing energy into every molecule and every part of your being. God is my abundant good. I know what to do to prosper. God is my abundant good. I know what to do to prosper. It's being revealed from my heart, from my gut. God is in charge. My good is here. My good is assured. I simply need to relax, let go, and listen to my gut. Breathe into your heart. What is your heart revealing right now about your success in life? God is my joy. I know what to do moving forward. God is my joy. I know what to do moving forward. Joy, gratitude, enthusiasm, all here moving me into my perfect, joy-filled, successful life. I now take one step forward with God leading the way. In the silence of our being, in the quiet of our being, we listen, we hear, we know. There is nothing impossible with God. Be still and know the truth. Take a breath. Relax. Release. Let go. Breathe in again. Bring your sense of self back into this room, this place. And know that we know that God is at work, in charge. And all I need to know is right here, right now. Take another breath. Hold it and let go. And as we bring ourselves back to this place, we sing our way back. The greatest thing in all my life is loving you. The greatest thing